Welcome to Lycomingfootball.com. Season 2014 is on its way. We're a week away from the Susquehanna Lycoming game. We haven't played them, 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure how long, but talking to head coach Mike Clark. And Mike, you're in your seventh year already, and good to have you. Good to talk to you every year. Preseason, how's it going?
John, we've had a nice preseason. Guys came in pretty good shape. The weather didn't cooperate as much as we would have liked. I mean, the weather was great, but it's just not warm as we would have liked, which concerns me a little bit, and probably most coaches if you play on a really hot day moving forward. But, no, all things considered, look, our players are in good shape. We've got a great group of seniors and a group of guys who are really committed to being here. We brought in 124 healthy guys, and 120 of those guys are still on the team, so I think it says something about the cohesiveness of our group. 3 of those guys, one who's no longer playing is related to a medical issue, and the other 3 were just homesick freshmen. So I got to tell you, I think there's a closeness, there's a tightness to this team, and it's all, a lot of that has to do with the seniors and how strong a group they are.
You're aware as much as everyone else that Lycoming has been picked again as winning the MAC championship. That's on paper, but you have to do it. Lycoming, though, it seems like we're in more of a what they used to call reload versus getting new players. A pretty good group coming back from last year, wouldn't you say, offensively and defensively?
Oh, sure, John. No, look, I mean, anytime you can return 9 starters on offense and 7 starters on defense, that's a great starting point, especially from a championship team. It's going to be, it's going to be an interesting year. Some of those guys are beat up, right? There are some great new faces who are challenging. So I think we have more depth than we did a year ago. We were able to get some young guys some experience last year. So returning them, in addition to returning all the guys that have a ton of experience, starting experiences, I think is great for our football team. It's going to be, we're going to have to stay healthy, right? We're going to need, it's a long year.
You got to be a little lucky.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Listen, absolutely, John. And the injuries are the one thing you can't control. But and we do have a couple guys who are dinged up, and we may miss some time, but nothing, knock on wood, so far that's season ending. And you hope that we can just weather the storm and get a lot of guys experience. And look, we're going to play September 6th. We're going to play September 13th. Like, the games aren't getting canceled. So if a couple guys are going to miss a game or 2 or 3, then somebody's got to be ready to step up. And that's where I think that having a great freshman class a year ago, and some good, who are now sophomores, and some good rising juniors who can fill in the gaps, in addition to some talented freshmen, should help us, still be a really tough team to deal with early in the year.
I think that's the exciting part of football. You don't want injuries in that, but every year there's some people that step up that get an opportunity for one reason or another to play, and you say, wow, that kid is fairly decent.
Yeah.
We need to use him a little more.
Yeah, and I tell you, John, that's something that, we weren't very deep last year. We didn't have the depth last year. We were younger. We had a smaller senior class. We played a reasonable amount of juniors, and we got some freshmen and sophomores, some backup or some great practice time a year ago. This year they're all back, and there are some young guys showing up. And that's what happens. I mean, years ago, when I was at Princeton, we went to the University of Michigan for a visit, and that was probably 1997, maybe the spring of 98. It was one of those springs, and I heard one of their coaches at the time say, hey, look, the expectations, guys, are for the position, not for the individual. So while we have certain expectations for our offensive linemen and certainly expect Casey Strauss or Garrett Hartman to be really good players, if something happens to them, then the next guy's got to go in. We have expectations for the quarterback. Tyler Jenny more than exceeds those expectations. But if Chase Whiteman has to play quarterback for us, he's had a great spring, and he'll be ready to go in and do what we want from the quarterback. Same thing with Tanner Troutman, right? Tanner led the country in interceptions, phenomenal. But if we ever lose a Tanner Troutman, then that's got to be Mike Gentili or Tim Christopher or whoever it is. I mean, we're going to play the games.
Yep.
And so is everybody else. So, we're going to have kind of the next man in mentality. It's always unfortunate if you lose a good player, but hey, we are who we are right now. Right? There's Coach Girardi used to say they're not parachuting anybody in. They're not. No one falling today. So.
And some of these good players right now that are seniors got in because they were ready when they were younger, underclassmen, to fill that position.
Sure. Tyler did not play much as a freshman, but neither did Tanner Troutman.
Yeah.
But a guy like Craig Needhammer, Craig left camp. I've shared this story with our running backs this spring several times. Craig left camp as a freshman. He was the fourth tailback. And we beat Rowan, and Parker Showers hurt his toe, and we went out to Westminster.
I remember that game. He was phenomenal.
But we started Tyler Floyd and Andrew McGravy played a little bit. And finally, we said, all right, let's give the ball to Craig.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was week 2. So, John, they're still between JV games, 4 years ago now probably, or 5 years ago now. Kabongo Bukasa, Matt Atkinson, just we knew they were solid in preseason camp, but then you play a JV game at Bucknell and those guys show up. So there's so much more. We think there are some guys who have earned positions, but we also know there's a lot of really talented guys who, as they get more experience and more opportunity, are going to show us who can help us down the line. So that's the exciting part is we're far from a complete project right now. We're still a work in progress and really, really far away, despite the fact that we think we can be great. We're going to continue to get better. That's the exciting part.
Susquehanna coming up next Saturday, game time 1:00. And what do you know about them? I don't know much about them since they're not in the MAC anymore.
Yep.
But they can always be tough. Rivalry?
Sure. Yeah, look, I think historically speaking, it's always a highly contested game. Their record last year is deceiving if you look at the scores. There's 5 games that are probably by a total that they lost by maybe like 25 or 26 points.
Combined.
Yeah, combined. So they're in games, right? They're going to have probably a new quarterback. They're going to be young at some spots. They're going to run a defense that we're not sure about, right? They have a new defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of uncertainty about Susquehanna, which forces us to prepare for any number of things. And it's a lot easier when you start to get guys on film and you know exactly what they're going to be, or you have an idea of what they're going to be, than trying to piece some things together and guessing. So we've got to do a little bit of what Susquehanna was before. We've got to go back. Their new defense coordinator used to coach at Brockport State. So we got to go back and deal with some things that Brockport State used to do. So we're kind of practicing like a third of a couple different defenses.
We'll see what they throw at you.
Yeah, and you got to be ready.
Yep.
And then offensively, there's a little bit of a crapshoot too. They have the same coordinators on offense, so you hope there's some consistency there. But there's a lot of questions about who. Timmy Wade's an outstanding running back for them. He's only a junior, really a good football player. We tried to recruit Timmy a couple years ago, and I know they have some really, really good young kids that are going there. So look, we're certainly not going to overlook them. We did not perform as well as we would have liked against Franklin and Marshall. So I hope our guys are we're going to find out this morning at practice and tomorrow at practice and next week as we get ready for Susquehanna what kind of group we really have.
I know you're excited about your coaching staff, some changes. Can you just real briefly tell me about what you're excited about, who's doing what? Okay,
well, for the most part, we did lose 2 guys, right? Coach Brisson is now the wide receivers coach at Lehigh. And temporarily in the spring, we had replaced Coach Brisson with Andrew Janoko, who Andrew now, unfortunately, Andrew had been with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Andrew's now the quarterback's coach at Mercyhurst. So that job's turned over again. And Dominic Borman, whose father, Ty, played for us in the late 70s, was on our first MAC championship team. So Dominic's doing a nice job with our wide receivers. Earl Chapman is our new secondary coach. Earl actually had coached in the league the last couple of years at Wilkes, but played at Bridgewater on some really good teams at Bridgewater, and we're really excited that Earl's joined the staff. And Coach Taylor has now moved over to the offensive line. He and I basically have flopped positions. We're really excited about the staff. I think we have good coaches. I think we're good teachers. Coach Steele and Coach Landis do a great job, not only with the quarterbacks and the D-line, but also special teams-wise. I think we're going to be very, very sound. So, we're really excited about the season.
Well, it is going to be an exciting season. It's good to get it going here in a week. And thanks for talking to us, and best of luck, Mike, throughout the year.
Yeah, hey, we're thrilled you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. This has been a production of LycomingFootball.com.